Hey everyone, welcome to today's video. Welcome to the Gamer Dad channel. Thank you very much for tuning in. So I decided that I was going to go ahead and play Elden Ring. It was a very tough decision to make because I knew once I committed, I would have to basically follow through as much as possible because I've dabbled into some of the other Souls like Dark Souls 3, 2 hours. Mortal Shell, about 2 hours. What's the other one that I touched the other day? It was another weird one. There have been 3 of them that I've tried to kind of dabble into, and I've not necessarily made it so far into dealing with these games. I prefer other combat games that really want you to win, where the developers are designing the game to want you to win so that you can get into them. Souls-like games are designed the exact opposite. They're designed to try to push you away so that you continue to press on even more and eventually overcome. It's a weird kind of human psychology that these developers have decided to tap into. And it actually is something that is right there. In the human mind, there is a time or in some circumstance where a person feels like they're pinned back against the wall and they fight with everything that they have in order to overcome. In fact, this game, Elden Ring, tapped into that. You see, the other Souls-like games never really were able to do that for me. I always kind of went, well, I'm not necessarily in the mood for that. But Elden Ring has a structure that really does provide, in a sense, an olive branch, a very small, tiny one, to the player who's never necessarily engaged with the Souls-like games, which is you don't have to fight these guys just yet. You can literally go every and anywhere else, do anything that you want to do, level up, get stronger, get OP if you like, then come back and deal with this obstacle in front of you. Now, that to me, I feel is a very solid portion of this particular game. Keep in mind that From Software basically went ahead and just threw in all of their expertise in building an open world and making the world very engaging, not boring, not generic, but actually a world where you're constantly at the edge of your seats while you're playing. You're not just going to be running around this open world and just, having this wonderful fun time. Because at any point you find yourself in like a swamp area, you can run over a giant crustacean that's going to 1-tap you or 2-tap you or even zone you out and hit you and then melt you. It's not a joke. The entire game is a fun, beautiful open world, but at the same time, underneath is a very dark component to it. And that's what really makes this particular multi-layering of the open world so good that even if you're not a Souls fan, you can actually enjoy this game. So right now, I find myself in a situation where I've spent about 15 hours on one character, fine-tuning, trying to figure out my play style. I still almost don't get it, but I'm still in a place where I think I probably want to go that path, and I've only been able to take out 2 optional bosses and 1 tutorial boss. And at the same time, I feel like I've done such a big task, and I really want to go back in to do more bigger tasks. And I think this is probably where the average player like myself, and I call myself an average player of these games, I really find something to enjoy here. Now, I also think that there is room for growth, which is something that I watch other players that play this game or people that talk about the games. They see something that a new player doesn't see yet. They can't necessarily show you or tell you what it is. And you as a new player will have to discover it based on your own play style, based on the way you actually engage with the game. For me, I want to engage the game in combat, and so that's what I'm really drawn to. I want to fight big monsters, and I want to basically conquer them. And so I've decided that I'm going to be very, very meticulous in learning and understanding the systems while I do so. Now, here's the beauty of it. I don't have to make that journey monotonous. The open world has provided many alternatives for me to just pick on little bits of it and just chew until that digests and that becomes part of my natural play methodology over the course of the game. And I think this is a very critical part to basically creating some kind of a playing field for those who may want a soft entry into these games. Now, my experience with Dark Souls 3 was very interesting. I run down this little path, I take out all the bad guys, I'm feeling good, right? And then they throw me in front of this boss, and I'm like, I can't beat this boss. I don't know what to do. But I was still in a position kind of locked away because there's nothing I could really do to go on from where I was. I was just kind of stuck there. But in Elden Ring, my first encounter with a, in quote, tutorial boss really did teach something to me. And that is, you're not strong enough to fight this guy. Go get good. Go get strong. And I'm like, there's a pathway for that? Yes, there is. In fact, I've run to places on the map where I don't think I'm even supposed to be in yet, but the game does not necessarily lock me out of it. The game allows for me to be able to go do that, and I can go farm in some really nice spots. I can get runes, I can get whatever it is that I need. In fact, I even got some gear. I was so happy. And I can get stronger, and I can come back. And I did come back for that tutorial boss, and I bodied him. And it was so refreshing because that's exactly what the game wants you to do. And once I bodied him, that was it. It literally sowed that seed of, you can do this. It will take time, but you can do this. And so the average player in me is looking at this thing in front saying, oh, wait, in front of me, there's not an average player. There's actually a better player. And that's what I want to kind of walk through. And this game is willing to help you just do that with the best of ease. Now, the game is gruesome and riveting in many cases. It's not a cakewalk. Many times you find yourself in a situation where you think you're good, but you're not. Enemy NPCs throw down some really weird stuff that's been programmed into their AI that even some of the more seasoned players may not see coming. You as an amateur, you best be wary that you do not find yourself in a position like that. And so that's pretty much it. And I think one thing has really, really made this game a huge, huge ton of fun for me. And that's the stealth mechanic. Now, stealth is not something that's my strong point. But in this particular game, if you actually hone it down, you basically can reduce your difficulty scaling in terms of actually going into a camp and fighting like, 5-6 bad guys, which they will basically pummel you. You can beat them, but you have to kind of run around, give them space, separate them, all those different tactics. But you can basically walk your way through, a body of enemy NPCs that are in a little camp or a little commune, and you can pretty much stealth your entire way through it. In fact, I was surprised when I stealthed a whole camp. I was shocked. Now, a whole camp in a game like this is just a few enemy NPCs compared to, say, like if you were playing Assassin's Creed where there are like 40 people in this entire camp, but each one of them is not as lethal as any single one of the enemy NPCs that you find in Elden Ring or in any of these Souls-like games. And so I think the developers understood the most critical concerns from people who are not necessarily fans of their bread and butter style of game. And they probably pinpointed and said, what is the one thing a lot of these players would like? They didn't necessarily say what, want, or not just what do you think they'll like? They'll like the option. They'll like the capability to be able to grow stronger and come back to their earlier difficult challenges and be able to overcome them without too many issues. And I think that's basically what they did in this formula. It makes the game so much better than anything that I've ever played in a long time. The game being an RPG game with possible replayability, testing out the different classes and how they work and how they flow is a whole different dimension by itself. It's like you paid $60 for 3 whole games. I mean, and I'm talking 3 massive games, and that's a conservative way of putting it, because within this game are all kinds of different fun game modes. You can explore the open world, you can explore hidden areas, you can explore catacombs and, what basically you call caves, which allow for all kinds of traversal and encounters and challenges and surprises. And surprises in this game are not always good. In fact, I think 10% of the surprises that you get are great. Then the other 90% of the surprises usually come behind something very unfortunate in a sense. Like, say, you take out a bad guy that's been kicking your butt and they give you a fun surprise. Or you stealth a bad guy and then they drop part of their gear or armor for you after they've probably pummeled you in the past. Those are the way surprises work in this particular game. But at the end of the day, the game really does, in my opinion, deliver what it was meant to deliver. That is, provide its core audience the game that they are used to, the game modes, the difficulty, the challenges, that unique selling point for it. And then at the same time, with very minuscule amounts of care, it says, hey, if you've never played this game before, give it a try. If you've never played a game like this before, come give this one a try and you probably will like it. And I think that's where this game is. It's done its job. It's easily, probably going to take Game of the Year from many other games. I think a lot of developers right now that may have seen this concept or are playing this game, I think they already know that this is a powerful product. But then there is something that holds the game back, in my opinion, and that is the performance issues on PC. You see, the game so far seems to be running very well on PlayStation. On Xbox, there have been reports that the game did not necessarily run well. I don't know what that day one patch has done. I'm playing on PC, and I can give you guys pretty much my own experience on PC. And I can tell you that it is very rough. The performance issues have gotten me, a number of times, actually. In fact, my first boss, I put on Twitter and I said it felt like I was fighting two bosses. One of them was the Tree Sentinel, and then the other one was Frame Stutter. That's the second boss's name. And, that really did give me a whole lot of problems. But eventually I was able to kind of overcome them because better knowledge of the game really does compensate for whatever external challenges you may face. But it's still not the most optimal experience, in my opinion. But I can actually overlook this because this is their first major open scale type of game that they're making. And I can say, well, their community and their audience seems to trust them, in a very, very huge way. I mean, seems to put a lot of stock in what they feel this, company is able to do. If you look at, say, the Dark Souls game on Steam, has very positive reviews in terms of how many ratings it got. That's Dark Souls 3. I mean, it's not necessarily something that, people are making stuff about. They really do enjoy the game. The communities and the audiences, the reviews really do speak highly of the game in terms of what it presents. So you can kind of go by that and say there must be a level of trust that the community has for this game, and that's what I'm going by. I'm basically going by word of mouth. And I think Elden Ring is the game that the developers made, and they understand that word of mouth is going to power this game through all of the other concepts that are, basically revealed this year. And so if you've never played a Souls-like game, if you are in a position where you're thinking, but there's Horizon Forbidden West and all these other games, you might like Horizon Forbidden West because it's accessible. You can go in, take out bad guys, you can scale your difficulty. Everything is right there. But this is a unique game. And so it may not be for you. But I can say that I think this game was designed for people like us that don't necessarily play these games at a high level in order to bring us to the point where we can probably in the future go into playing, their future products or their future, concepts in terms of video games. It's a very intelligent design paradigm. This is an intentional game. Elden Ring is a game that's playing 4D chess when other games are, and 4D chess is just kind of a weird meme thing, but it just basically means that the game has a long-term broad strategy that is not necessarily realized today, but in my opinion, I think will be realized later down the road. I think From Software probably have had this in mind, but have been making their bread and butter games to continue to build up that community that would one day use this, one day help them, take this game like Elden Ring and use it as kind of the launch pad for everything else from then on. So I don't know what the most pivotal game in the Dark Souls series or the other From Software games are, like Bloodborne or whatever. Oh yeah, Bloodborne. I played 20 minutes of that and I was like, nope, good. But I think Elden Ring is the most pivotal of all of them. Anyone that gives this game a try, a genuine try, is going to enjoy it. And I understand the price tag is not something that you really want to pay for, and then you find yourself stuck in one particular place. So you might have to say to yourself, I'll probably wait for a sale. But this doesn't seem like this game is going to be going on sale that fast. Unless things are changing very, very fast, I don't see that happening. But again, it's something you can wait for. You can learn a lot by watching videos. You can see a lot of different tactics. You can pretty much build a huge knowledge base before you ever touch the game, so that by the time you actually grab the game, it's something that, you already have a good handle on. For me, I am not going to sit here and, basically BS you. I am leaning heavily on guides and the experience of people who are seasoned in these games. I know some people might want to say, I want to just, explore and do it all by myself. Perfect. There's room for that. In fact, I find myself doing that when I'm even going for different objectives. I just veer off the beating path. And you will do that. The world just calls you and says, hey, come over here. And you're like, well, I want to go over there, but I'll go over here. Those things are organic and they're going to happen. But in my opinion, I feel like in order for me to be able to kind of gain a better grasp, I need teachers. And so I'm leaning in heavily on people who are more experienced, and I'm actually enjoying it because it's nice for somebody to teach you something and for you to put it into practice and for it to actually work. I love to learn. And so this game is providing that for me. It's just like a book that I've never read before. And so these are basically my thoughts on the Elden Ring game. Whether or not you should buy it, I don't know, man. I really can't say one way or the other. But do I recommend it? Oh, yes. If you really are looking for a game that's going to basically play for, I'm talking, that's going to give you a lot of value for your money. Each dollar you spend, this is the game that's going to do it, because I don't even know where the end is. I'm still at the beginning, and I have burned so many hours trying to figure out, how to make that area really good. And I think this is it. I think this is the game that's going to basically just add me to the people who play games like these. I guess you can put us in that category very soon. For me, let me get my combat in order. And I think that's probably where it is that I want to be. So hopefully I'll be bringing more thoughts after a few more hours. These are preliminary, presentations in terms of, some of the things I've just seen so far. There's more, but honestly, this video is going to scale to like 40 minutes if I sit here and just start talking about some of the really, really little things. But so far, I appreciate you for watching the video. If you've been, if you've been sticking to the end, thank you very much. And leave comments and leave thoughts. For those of you who are in this community who basically said, hey, you should play these games, try them out, I just want to say this was probably the right one to play. I don't know about the other ones like Sekiro that you pointed out, but I think Elden Ring is it. So we'll talk later. Thanks so much. Peace out.